Hey, today's a great day in America. Today's the day that we are out of Afghanistan. It's the official last day of the war in Afghanistan. Now, you want to know what's actually happening? President Obama has signed an order to increase the number of troops we have in Afghanistan next year. You didn't hear that wrong. We're not decreasing our troops in Afghanistan, we're increasing them. What in the world happened? Well, what always happens in Washington, the war never ends. Right now, between Afghanistan, Iraq, and all the other conflicts we've been involved in for the last 13 years, 7,000 members of our armed forces are dead. Tens of thousands are injured, let alone the suicides. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have been killed in those wars of those countries, predominantly in Iraq, but certainly a huge portion in Afghanistan and now in Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, all the places we're doing drone strikes. And then millions have been displaced. And what do we get for it? Well, we got even more reactionary, more radical forces like ISIS coming out of Iraq. Yes, Saddam Hussein was terrible, but ISIS is even worse. So it's been massively counterproductive. Now, in the midst of all this, President Obama had brought in Chuck Hagel, who originally voted for the Iraq War, but was one of the few guys who says on the Republican side that he regretted it. Well, part of his job was to reduce the Pentagon because we've had these endless wars. President Obama was elected to end these wars. Now, he kind of ended the one in Iraq, but in reality, of course, that was an agreement that even George W. Bush had signed, and Obama just followed through on it. He claims he ended the war in Afghanistan, but has secretly ordered increased troops next year in Afghanistan. And then he restarted a war in Iraq and Syria now, just to make it a little extra war for you, war 2.0, 3.0 at this point. Well, it turns out Hagel actually did what he was supposed to do. He said, wait, Mr. President, we're supposed to be lowering the wars, not increasing them. We're supposed to be lowering the Pentagon budget, not increasing it. Now, what you heard when Chuck Hagel stepped down from all of the media was, oh my God, it turns out Chuck Hagel and President Obama had a slight disagreement on an arcane amount of support we should give Turkey or not give Turkey on the issue of taking down Bashar al-Assad. Plus, he didn't quite fit in with the administration and the in-group, and then there was all these different issues that were all tiny little issues, and that's why he stepped down. That's not why he was fired, and by the way, he didn't step down voluntarily. He was asked to resign. There's another word for that. It's called fired, right? Why? Because ultimately, Obama decided that he was more pro-war than Republican Chuck Hagel, a former senator from Nebraska, right? So it turns out, no, the Pentagon won in its war against Chuck Hagel. They wanted to increase the budget. Obama sided with them. Susan Rice, a confidant on foreign policy issues, sided with the Pentagon. Of course, the Hillary Clinton contingent within the administration had always wanted to increase Pentagon spending and increase the wars. They also won. Everybody who was pro-war won, and Chuck Hagel lost. So understand the real story of what's going on here. It wasn't as you were told in the rest of the media. It's appropriate that I'm doing this story here at the Museum in Washington, D.C., which is an ode to all of the media and the great works that the media has done in the past. They could afford to learn a little bit from here, because right now a lot of them are not doing very good work at all. They're just taking exactly what the administration told them about why Chuck Hagel stepped down. They all wrote it down. They didn't challenge it. The reality is, and Mother Jones now has a terrific story about it that you can read, that explains, no, in reality, the Pentagon got its wish. There will be more war, and if Chuck Hagel was standing in the way, he had to be eliminated, and he was.